Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this SPHN webinar. This is actually the fifth and actually last edition of our new webinar series, which has the main topics of presenting the infrastructure and processes developed at the 5 university hospitals for a reliable and efficient secondary use of routine data. Over the past 6 years, SPHN supported the university hospitals in developing their data infrastructures, not only financially, but also more importantly in terms of standardization and interoperability efforts. And I think you can very easily imagine that getting standardization and interoperability done in one hospital is already a large challenge. But of course, as soon as you also align across a whole country with having all the hospitals on board, this of course brings an additional dimension which SPHN tackled. So what we would like to see today is actually really how this happened actually at the cantons, the University Hospital of the Canton of Geneva, so HEG. And in today's issue, Marc Daverat, the Chief Data Information Officer of HEG, will give us this overview. So thanks a lot, Marc, for taking the time, and we are very much looking forward to learn about your organizational structures that have emerged, which infrastructure have been built, and also hear about the challenges which you still face when sharing routine data for research. So the floor is yours, Marc.
Thank you, Sabine, for welcoming me and introducing this webinar. And good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. It's also a tricky exercise because you are not in front of me. And a lot has already been said by my peers in previous presentation. I know that attendees have diversified profiles today, so I will try to meet everyone's expectation without boring you with overly technical details and things that you have already seen. As Sabine said, there is a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, so I will be happy to dig into details if needed and try to answer to your question. And if I cannot come back to personally to you to give you answers, well, I think I've finished with the disclaimer, so let's begin. Try to turn my slide. So during this session, what I propose to you is to give you a few context elements around data governance at HEG and around our data strategy. It is, I think, important to understand both what we did to facilitate secure access to institution data and how it helped to implement SPHN requirements. But it is also a mutual win-win between SPHN and HEG. So I will then highlight how SPHN helped us to and continue to help to accelerate our strategy, even if we will continue to face some challenges in the future. So the fact that HEG and SPHN is a mutual win-win, once again, is indeed a good news for us, as it demonstrates that we are in the good path. So a few words about context, data governance and strategy at HEG. A few facts and figures on this slide. What is interesting here is that aside the fantastic expansion of medical data and the progress made in analytics, which will be a real game changer with machine learning, deep learning, and so on, there is a real trend in the secondary usage of data in medical research. Of course, if some voices raise the fact that data analytics will replace clinical trials, most of these voices coming from the US. We all know it is not the case, and that data analytics will be an accelerator for research and also for day-to-day care. Anyway, we have in front of us a fantastic playground, and data usage is not something new at HEG. We began, in fact, setting up our EHR system 30 years ago And people use data for several purposes everywhere in the institution. In the medical departments, within expertise pools, like the Medical Information Science Service, Clinical Research Center, IS team, support functions. And in fact, all these people share the same objective, which is to get valuable insights to take decisions and measure their impact. So as data usage increases, it was important for us to propose a kind of framework to help all these actors to better collaborate with defined process and technologies. So the framework we set up early this year is quite simple. There is a first pillar, which is a kind of, let's say, rules of the road dealing with data. As we wanted these policies, governance, strategy guidelines, standards to be very pragmatic, we decided, in fact, to build them on project to be sure that it would be easily adopted by the actors because it demonstrated values on this pilot project. Second pillar deals with data quality, with the objective to monitor quality issues, set up appropriate remediation processes where needed. We are very careful about other quality because quality takes time and efforts. Third pillar is probably the toughest one indeed. We all know that we are in the most regulated sector right now. Confidentiality and consent is key as we are UH. So we both treat patients and make healthcare progress thanks to research and education. And there is not the media report, medical data leak, one somewhere, and so on. So we must be very careful, and we must keep the promise we did to our patients around confidentiality and consent. Fourth pillar deals with common sense of data. In order to be able to share data with other institutions more widely, so within Swiss and beyond borders. So SPHN is a great example of what can be achieved right now. We have also to deal with more than 150 registries today, local, multicentric ones, so sometimes international ones, which help to improve care quality as well as research. So it's quite tough to be sure that we have fair data to share within these registries. Fifth pillar is a new one. We all know that data has an environmental cost. Complicated to say. So we must be careful to answer wisely to use cases and choose appropriate analytics algorithm. I think we all know about infrastructure costs in terms of empreinte carbon, with all these GPUs, high performance needs, and so on. So we must keep in mind that neural network is not the only answer on data analytics, and maybe we can choose algorithms simpler. And the sixth pillar is, in fact, the one who will drive the all others. So we must focus on use cases, and there is two types of use cases. We identify the improve hospital efficiency in its day-to-day functions, and better treat our patients. So the main challenge, in fact, here is to propose a very operational framework with the aim to really help users to get rid of barriers. And to manage this framework, we set up an appropriate governance. So we deal with strategic aspect, vision, strategy, funding, key projects at commission level. The fact that we have nearly all the steering committee participating to this commission. So this is a sign of the importance of the data within the HUG. At committee level, tactical level, we propose a strategy, we follow up and support strategic projects. It relies on several working groups which are working on several topics. So quality of data is one, reporting, AI usage is another one. And we've got all these expert pools that come in support at the 3 level. The really new thing, because this is something that is quite standard, in fact, is that we use the CAS motto to take the decision. So C as capabilities, A as accountability, and S as skills. So as soon as we've got these 3 axes, we can decide. If there is one missing, in fact, then we escalate. So this helps to smooth decision within the hospital, and it's working pretty well right now. And in fact, this governance will help to support the strategy. We've got a very simple strategy, very readable strategy, which is based on 4 axes. X1 focuses on patient, okay, with a focus on clinics, research, education. X2 is aims to improve institution management, anticipate things, manage activities. X3 is promote the usage of the data within the institution and help also collaborators to embrace new roles related to data. We all know about data engineer, data scientist, data manager, data analyst, data blah, blah. So we've got a lot of new roles that are coming. And in fact, X4 is the one we will focus on today, which is how to facilitate and secure the data use. So it's more an enabler X. So focusing on this 4th axe, facilitate and secure data use. In fact, we are not talking about technologies anymore, but we want to provide our users with governed services. So, of course, we have got data in the center of the strategy, but we want to propose use case-oriented services. So this means that we set up our data service platform to serve both clinical, research, and non-clinical use cases. We try to provide services that comes with policies, organization, processes, support for the users, and of course, last but not least, technologies. So in fact, it's quite simple. In order to help to manage activities, we build self-extract capabilities, self-BI, scorecards, dashboards, which are quite common business intelligence services. And we did also with consent, which is very important within the organization. Collaboration, SPHN is part of this service, of course, advanced analytics, hypercomputing, and last but not least, semantic access to the data, which is critical in the future for us. So technically speaking, how does it work? It's quite simple. In fact, we take the siloed data coming from the information system applications and tomorrow from external sources. It may be statistics and so on when we deal with the fact that people are getting older and so on. We capture them in nearly real time and store it in a data lake. And then, in fact, we standardize this data, we consolidate it, and expose some data marts, which are, in fact, use cases contexted database in order to serve, in fact, the types of use case on the right of the screen. All this framework relies on DevSecOps capabilities to smooth the process from design to production. We've got several technologies used there. I won't bother you with it, but Docker, MongoDB, Kafka, Jenkins. It's simple, in fact. Focusing on the data lake itself, well, it takes information from several sources, as I said, and it is able, in fact, to host structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. It's a NoSQL database. We don't host omics and DICOM in it, but just metadata at this time. If needed, data itself is provided to clinicians and researchers for omics and DICOM using other pipelines with their own de-identification services for research. For example, we use Karnak solution for DICOM, which has been implemented by HUG. I give a high five to Nicolas Roduy as an open source product used by other hospitals. So this is built, in fact, to support any use case type, as I said, from activity management to medical research. We have a one-stop shop where people can turn in order to get data set extraction. So we cover more than 350 data sets a year using this one-stop shop. And I put some figures of what is in the data lake, and it's progressing day after day. Now, if we focus a little bit more on SPHN, the objective, in fact, is to make data findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable across the UH. So we will rely on our data lake. Once data has been acquired, we will follow the same pipelines as the one I showed you before. So standardization is a huge work as we adopted UCUM, SNOMED, and LOINC standards. This is done with the great help of the CMED team from Professor Lovis, which is doing a fantastic job. They don't only do just standardization, they do far more, but I will not enter in the detail here. And you can turn to Christian to get more information. But we must note that it cannot be industrialized as it required really expert analysis. So we need this expert, in fact, to achieve SPHN. Then data may also be enriched if needed. This is done with our EHR system using custom forms. This is a real asset for us, as data may follow the same pipeline, will be stored, in fact, in the EHR systems and will be captured in the data lake and available for other usages. Then, depending on project needs, we filtered consented patients, de-identified records, produce RDF thanks to the SPHN connector, and send the data to Biomed IT. We faced a lot of challenge. I will highlight two of them. The first one we faced is to identify where are the data in the data lake, as column names are, let's say, complex to understand. So we decided to implement the data governance platform to link usage, business concepts, and raw data with a complete audit trail. This will evolve from data-centric to semantics-centric approach in the future. We are working closely with Christian in this way. This comes also with new roles, the ability we have to name data owners, data contributors, data consumers. And in the January release, we hope to include data quality monitoring capabilities in order, in fact, to help to put remediation process where it is needed. and to have more and more high quality data to propose to our users. Second challenge is focus on standardization. We try to move from data-centric to semantic-centric. This slide is an example provided by Christian, which explains the move from data-centric to semantic-centric. So thank you, Christian. If you hear me, it's a very didactic slide, in fact. If we have a diagnosis with an electric burn of the left big toe, this can also be the big toe burn with an electric wire, the left, and if we are working internationally in Finnish, I won't spell it because I'm not able, but it will be this. And we try, in fact, to standardize this data and to structure it. Using the ICD-10, we will lose a lot of the sense of what we had feeling in the EHR system. So using SNOMED, in fact, we structure the data, but we keep the sense of the data. And this is really a huge work that have been performed by every UH on SPHN to get interoperable data without losing sense. And this is critical, in fact, for research, but also for clinical day-to-day for the data. So this is something that we put in the heart of the strategy, moving from data-centric to semantic-centric approach. So thanks again to Christian and his team, Christian, for this very didactic example. I call it semantic for dummies. And to the Simon team for his tremendous work on day-to-day basis to help us to standardize the data and move from data-centric to semantic-centric approach. Of course, we are involved in many projects, NTS demonstrators, not just as data providers, but also some of these projects are led directly by HUG on PI side, some other by other UH. I won't enter in detail here around this project because each of these initiatives is very clearly documented on the SPHN website. Maybe I can focus on another initiative, which is TI4Health Federated Query System. It is key today. We did a lot of work to put in common all these data, okay? But it is key today for us to help the researcher to query this SPHN data. This initiative, TI4Health, which is a federated query system, will help the researcher, in fact, to interact with the data. And in the future, there is an ambition, in fact, to go to federated machine learning solution, which will help also to secure the data access. It will allow the researcher to turn his data analysis directly on the premise of the UH and just to send back the results and put it in common. So this is this would be really a game changer in the future. That's my opinion. Now, having said that, we support at HUG SPHN. SPHN was also an accelerator for us. So it's really a mutual win-win partnership. If I come back to this figure, I put in green where SPHN, in fact, added value, so around business and semantic secured view, around self-extract capabilities, consent, and collaboration. SPHN is really an accelerator for fair data. It helped us a lot, first, to expand data lake coverage. At the real beginning, we didn't have, for example, DICOM metadata, mixed metadata, biobanks metadata, and so on. So we expand the coverage of the data lake, and it will, in fact, serve other use cases, not just SPHN. Twice, the data governance platform I talked about, including all these data discovery, data quality measurement, business glossary, and so on, is something that was co-funded by SPHN and the UH, and probably it helped us a lot to accelerate in order to document the data and make it reusable. And third, the fact that we had to standardize this data helped us to decide that we must move from a data-centric approach and positioning to semantic data-centric approach, both for clinical and research. So this is really at the heart of the strategy. Second thing, SPHN is really a key enabler for research in Swiss, of course, but beyond borders. I mean, this reusable data pipeline that every UH setup enhance interoperability of the institutions. But we want to go one step further. We have already started to work on a registry automation. We've got many international multi-center registries, and this is part of the OSPHARE program within SPHN. So once again, thanks to SPHN to help us, in fact, on this topic. And of course, we improved a lot our consent management service, including DA identification capabilities that may be used on other use cases. And we are thinking next year to go towards self-extract capabilities for researchers and clinicians in order to smooth, once again, the process. And then last but not least, I think that SPHN is a key enabler for research and care on day-to-day activities. I talked a little bit about TI4F federated machine learning system, which is a future for me of a real solution that will help the researcher, in fact, in these data analytics. But as I say, the SPHN data mart is not de-identified itself. We de-identify data after in order to send it to the researcher. So it may also be used for day-to-day care on precision medicine, for example. And we've got a couple of projects that are in progress in it, relying on SPHN FAIR data. So to talk a little bit about challenges we've got in front of us, we've got many challenges. I choose to focus only on the SPHN one because we've got a lot of challenges, also internal challenges, of course, but this is not the purpose of this webinar. I highlight 4 challenges here. The first one is really to smooth governance. This means, in fact, it's not, SPHN is not a technical project by itself. It's more than this. It really embraces all the ecosystem of the research. And we have to make progress on the administrative process to submit a research. It must be easy for the PIs, in fact, to adopt SPHN. The second challenge we've got in front of us is probably to expand the SPHN collaboration, open it to other institutions, gather more and more data, and also to open it to public and private sector. We've got many startups doing fantastic work around data analytics, advanced data analytics, machine learning, deep learning, and so on. It would be really an accelerator, I think, in order to use SPHN with success. The third point is critical for me also, is to guarantee the sustainability of what we did so far. SPHN is an evolving system. Medical data are produced every day. We've got a core data set within SPHN today, but we see it already with demonstrator, and yes, we must expand it, add more concept, add more data. So it's a never-ending story, and it's an ongoing process, and we have to set up appropriate organization and processes in order to continue to provide the researchers with this fair data. And probably the fourth main challenge we will have, I talked a little bit about advanced analytics, AI, machine learning before, but we must anticipate infrastructure needs. UH cannot access to high performance calculation capabilities everywhere. So we probably must think all together on what could be a platform to do this, a common platform and shared platform. So one last word, and I hope that I was not too quick in my presentation. I arrived at HUG 1.5 years ago. I was onboarding on SPHN at the beginning of the year. My personal feeling is that people did so far a fantastic job. It's a fantastic initiative. And what has been realized since the beginning is really impressive. I discovered people, and they demonstrate their capabilities to work together across continental borders, which is not simple despite different culture. So I saw in the presentation that Solange did, she did a slide with nearly all the names of the people participating to the SPHN at CHUV. To be honest, I was scared to forget someone. So I would simply like to thank on behalf of HUG all the people who have participated so far, continue to participate actively to this project, and I'm really honored and happy to participate to it. It was my last word. Thank you for your attention, and Sabine, I'm ready to answer question. Any question, let me know.
Thanks a lot, Marc, and thanks a lot also for the nice words at the end. I think, as you say, there was a lot of work put in, and I think it was not always simple, but I think, as you said, I think it was really showing how together, I think Bram said it very nicely, how we can move the elephant in the room. So with that,
but I cannot use Bram's image, unfortunately. He took it before me.